Welcome to Good Game. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo.
What are your favourite horror movie tropes, Barjo?
Oh, well, I do like an asylum escapee story. Oh, but my personal favourite is the creepy doll.
Ah, yes. Well, this week on the show, we have 10 hours to survive every single horror movie cliche in the book.
Also this week, we jump, slide and shoot our way through a first play.
Has the satellite. We have the satellite drone.
Plus, we'll take a look at how two very different groups bring an arcade classic back to life.
But before all that, can you name the game for this week? In a dystopian future, battles won't be fought in the air or on the sea. Oh no, they'll be fought on the ground by augmented cybernetic humans. This is the setting for Call of Duty Black Ops 3, The Bloppening.
We played the Black Ops 3 multiplayer beta.
We got blopped, Hex. We got blopped.
Bloppin'?
Ah, Hex, another year goes by, another Call of Duty appears on the horizon. Sunrise, sunset.
Yes, indeed, Barjo. It is that time of year again to sit down, jump into a match, mute most of the party, and rack up points to the familiar rock and roll anthem that is Call of Duty.
Eliminate the objective.
We played this beta on PS4, which was just a handful of modes and maps. But to give you an idea of the setting, Black Ops 3 takes place many years after Black Ops 2. The world has changed quite a lot due to futuristic conflict, and the levels we played represent this quite well.
Outrider down.
The map Evac is set on top of a skyscraper overgrown with nature and in disrepair. There's a snow bunker of sorts in Switzerland, and a tropical oasis map as well.
KIA.
Well, the first thing you notice with these maps is that they have clear direction. They make sense, and after only a few plays, you mostly get what each map is trying to achieve in terms of multiplayer design. You can easily identify their main paths, some advantages and disadvantages of certain areas, ambush and sniper spots. Sniper, get down! They're great maps.
Yeah, and nowhere feels safe.
Oh, totally. You have to keep moving at all times. There's always someone aiming at you from somewhere.
I was quite surprised at how colourful and diverse the terrain was as well. The last Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare, did a pretty good job with the single player, but I personally found all their multiplayer maps a bit bland. But these maps, Hex, they grabbed me instantly. And the terrain is interesting to move through too. It's not just boring straight corridors.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Lots of variation in the environment, decoration, and exterior structures.
It's nice to have maps that we can maybe care about again, because that's what keeps me invested in a good COD, those multiplayer maps. And it hints that developer Treyarch might still be king of the hill when it comes to COD. There was one thing I really did struggle with though, Hex, and that's all the falling.
Running down.
So much pointless
You
death.
fell with grace, Barjo. But yes, there are many holes in each map that you'll need to memorize. And they're placed so subtly too. Little corridors and spots just begging for you to try and pass through, and then merciless death.
Hostile hellstorm overhead.
One of the biggest changes to this COD is the movement system, and that you can now wall run. This can be chained with jetpack jumps and slides.
Outrider KIA.
It works well and eventually becomes intuitive.
Yeah, and you can jetpack leap a little bit more than you could with Advanced Warfare, so that just gives you a few more tactical options.
Yeah, and I think the key to this COD will be mastering that movement system. So often in Call of Duty, I find it's whoever spots you first kills you. It's kind of like a flip of a coin. But with this, now you have more opportunity to dodge out of the way and really fight back.
You do still die so quickly though, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I developed this weird twitch with this game where every time I died, I'd shake the controller and shut my eyes like this, just raging out.
Demolition.
You do have to embrace the rage though, because it is part and parcel with Call of Duty. Another big change is the introduction of specialists. These are classes which you slowly unlock as you rank up. They all have unique abilities such as an explosive bow and arrow or a powerful grenade launcher, bullet repelling armor, that sort of thing.
They dropped our flag.
As you play, your ability charges up and then you pick the right moment to unleash it.
Run down.
And not easy to land though.
No, they're not. In fact, I'd say about half the time I'd waste my specialist ability, although that might just be because I'm terrible at COD FPS without a mouse and keyboard.
Our robot has been rebooted.
I like that there are classes now though, Hex, but I'm still not sold on these abilities. They just don't feel very exciting.
Yeah, and some of them do feel a bit pointless, like that glitch one that sort of teleports you back a few moments. This is such a fast-paced game that by the time you realise you need to use it, you're either dead or your enemy is. Although it could just be a case of working out which abilities suit which game modes best, which would take more time than we had access to.
Yeah, and it is nice to have something new to play with besides just kill streak rewards. I enjoyed taking this new movement system and the abilities into all of the game modes, especially in Uplink, which if you don't know is kind of like football, where you grab a satellite drone and run to the enemy's base to score.
Satellite uploaded.
Being able to wall run and jump around a lot gives you a lot of options in that mode, as well as it would in Capture the Flag.
There's also an escort the non-combative robot mode, where you basically just escort a robot.
Escort the robot to the enemy base.
It's pretty much walking with constant ambushes, and I found it was a bit too easy to get the robot to its location, which made for some tedious overtime.
I do like the idea though, just anything to mix up the standard team deathmatch is a good thing in my opinion.
But the rest of the game is pretty much the same old COD. You'll be cheering 1 minute with a glorious kill and yelling at the screen the next as you die over and over.
Funny kids!
There's plenty of weapon customization, and the way you balance unlocks and attachments is polished and logical. All the menus and presentation is as fluid as ever, and although we did have a few unplayable laggy matches, for the most part, things worked well. I'm not a huge fan of the art and the character models though, Barjo.
Yeah, it's all a little brink, isn't it? Ugh. And I also hate those cocky bits of dialogue that pop up at the end of a match.
Good job, CVP. Mission reassignments inbound.
We kicked some serious ass, guys.
Serious ass indeed. I also hate the kill cam, it's really sloppy, and the ragdoll, which I think is just a bit inelegant. But other than those minor things that I hate, this multiplayer is shaping up well, and of course we'll do a full review when the game comes out later in the year.
And now it's time for the news with Goose.
Here's what's making headlines. 2 men have been arrested on firearms-related charges after allegedly threatening violence at the Pokemon World Championships in Boston. The men were both invitees to the Masters division at the tournament, but were prevented from entering after security had been made aware of their threats. Police then found a 12-gauge shotgun and an AR-15, along with 250 rounds of ammunition in the suspect's car. A recent patent filing from Nintendo may have revealed some details about the upcoming NX console. While little specific information can be found in the patent, it does describe a home console without an optical disc drive. Instead, the device appears to have a slot for memory cards or cartridges. It also appears the console's controller will have its own display, much like the Wii U gamepad. Developers 3D Realms and Gearbox Software have settled their dispute over the ownership of the Duke Nukem franchise. The original conflict began when 3D Realms began development on Duke Nukem Mass Destruction, despite having already sold the franchise to Gearbox. Now all parties have resolved their differences and voluntarily ceased litigation. The exact terms of the settlement weren't revealed, except to say that Gearbox Software is the full owner of the Duke Nukem franchise.
I'm back, baby.
And that's all for this week.
Thanks, Goose. Last year, Melbourne developer Hipster Whale had a mega hit on their hands with the tap-happy vertical hopper Crossy Road.
It was basically a new take on the classic Frogger. Well, now they're back with another arcade reinvent, Pac-Man 256.
The 256 in the title refers to a bug that was in the original arcade version. Basically, when you got to level 256, there was a weird kind of glitch on the screen that made moving to the next level impossible.
This time around, the glitch is there from the very start, eating away and moving up the screen like a tidal wave, destroying all in its path.
Which means you have to move. You need to navigate your way through an endless maze filled with ghosts all on the hunt. You do this by swiping your finger up, down, left, or right.
And Pac-Man has had a bit of an upgrade. The more pellets he eats, the faster he moves, and if you get a good rhythm going, you can be tearing around the screen at quite a pace.
Yes, but to balance things out, the ghosts have also had a few tweaks. Pinky now chases you at near breakneck speeds, and we have an addition to the family in Glitchy, who seems to have caught the 256 bug.
Along the way, you do occasionally have the help of power-ups. These are in the form of a freeze bomb, which slows down ghosts, an actual bomb that explodes ghosts if you touch them, and my personal favorite, the laser, which basically is a get-out-of-my-way device.
I love the laser. There's around 16 power-ups to collect, but I haven't played enough to get them all yet, have you?
No, not yet. It's a little bit frustrating understanding how it all works, actually. When you die, you're presented with an end screen that has a kind of confusing design to it. Along the top, you're earning towards some sort of unlock. You can continue your run for a credit, but above that in a tiny box is a free play option. Plus, your power-ups can be upgraded with credits, but that can have a timer attached. And then there are prompts to watch ads to earn coins. I mean, unlike Crossy Road, which was blissfully simple, this all just seems a bit convoluted.
True, and actually when I first started playing this, I thought it was all about getting up that maze as fast as possible. But actually, it's more about getting multipliers, munching those pellets in a string, taking out ghosts, and getting as big a score as you can before you get caught. So there's a bit of depth to it, a few rules to learn.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if I'm going to play a game like this, I prefer the tap-tap-die simplicity of something like Crossy Road. It was just always clear what my goal was in each one of those little play sessions. It's the perfect mobile game to kind of pick up and play in short bursts. I'm just not sure I'm on board with this as a score chaser.
I quite liked it. I like the presentation. And the classic arcade music and sounds, and the way Pac-Man explodes into tiny pixels when he dies. It's a clever reinvention of the Pac-Man design. I'm giving it 3 stars.
Well, it just hasn't quite gripped me, so I'm giving it 2.
First game I ever played was Pac-Man. It was Ms. Pac-Man, and I played it in the bath, which is very dangerous. Almost died.
Okay. Barjo, do you know what would make Pac-Man even more awesome?
A live robotic version of Pac-Man?
Yes. We spoke to some students from the University of New South Wales who did just that.
Create is a student-led society at the University of New South Wales that is all about making things. So we run lots of workshops to teach people programming, design, 3D modeling, 3D printing, and we provide opportunities for all our members to get involved in a variety of different projects. So anything from robots that fly or move around autonomously on the ground, really anything that involves any kind of combination of engineering design. So our most recent project has been a Pac-Man game that plays itself, but also people can come along and play the game as well. It's on a course that we've built from scratch, and robots move around the course just like the real Pac-Man game. We wanted something that was universal. Everyone knew this particular game and everyone could have fun with it. Pac-Man also grabbed us as being such a challenge, like the automation, the AI that was behind that was not simple at all. So we picked something that was going to be fun for everyone, that was achievable, but was also extremely challenging to pull off. We had to absolutely design everything from scratch. There was no kind of platform to go off to have, you know, ready to go Pac-Man robots. So we had a team of about 10 to 15 students work on this whilst also completing their studies at university, which made it extremely challenging, but we managed to pull it off because we had everyone who was so committed to getting this happening, whether it be the 3D modeling design and making sure that the parts were ready in time, and, you know, revision after revision to make sure that it all fit together. All of it was challenging. It's attracted a lot of attention and interest from a number of groups, and we've been invited to sort of take it on a bit of a road show to a couple of cities around Australia as well. What I would say to anyone who wants to be involved in this kind of thing is try and go out of your way and take the initiative to encourage your schools to take on these projects, come up with your own project ideas, talk to your teachers, talk to your friends, get people excited about building something. It gets people interested in engineering and design because in this day and age, we need more engineers, more people who are familiar with technology, know how to use it, because that is the future. And I see games as a way of connecting people to, you know, the development of society in those areas, because it gets people so interested and involved. And the skills that we've had to sort of learn on the way to building this project are invaluable for all the other stuff that we want to do in the future.
The The cinematic narrative genre of games is evolving. As motion capture tech improves, big-name actors are starting to perform and headline in games that offer significant roles.
Until Dawn is a survival horror game with a strong narrative focus. And a cast of film actors, including Hayden Panettiere and Peter Stormare.
You have to accept this in order to move forward.
In the vein of something like I Know What You Did Last Summer or Final Destination, it's basically a slasher movie where you make all the decisions for the unsuspecting teens trapped at an isolated ski lodge.
It's your phone.
What?
Slasher buffs settle in for every possible teen horror cliche that you could possibly imagine, Until Dawn draws on all those classic archetypes. The lovers,
Maybe I know how to handle you too.
Ouija boards,
Are you moving it?
creepy noises in the basement,
Wait, okay, so you hear them too, right?
not to mention, wait for it, an old abandoned mine and a creepy sanatorium right next to the ski lodge for some reason.
The game begins with the gruesome death of twins Beth and Hannah during a trip away with a group of friends.
Hannah!
1 year later, the twins' brother invites everyone back to the ski lodge to try and reconnect and move past the tragedy.
This place barely looks any different.
Yeah, nobody's been up here.
Even with all the police coming in and out?
But the girl's death was never explained, and pretty soon it becomes apparent that there may be something lurking there that wishes them all ill. Obviously. Despite being cliches wrapped in more cliches from the supernatural to the psycho, it does a pretty good job of tangling the story up in some ridiculous and incredible red herrings.
What the hell?
Boom. You just got mugged.
The game sets a very tense mood from the moment you pick up the controller, doesn't it?
Yeah, that cable car ride through the fog up the mountain.
Adventure begins.
Oh, I hope this was the right thing to do.
I mean, if your only way in or out of a location is via cable car, then you know that death is in your future.
Action takes place in the form of basic movement and quick-time events as you play out this more story-driven experience. Similar to 2013's Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah, and likewise, Until Dawn really is a game about choice. Decisions both moral and spontaneous are thrown at you at every turn.
You can take that gun in front of you and shoot Ashley, or you can shoot yourself.
Yes, and sometimes you're given time to consider. Other times, they take the form of split-second quick-time events that can have huge repercussions.
God damn it.
Yeah, and it's hard to predict just how much weight each choice will have. I mean, sometimes choosing whether to run or hide or whether you miss an obstacle or not will determine whether a character lives or dies.
But at other times, the choices seem to have no effect at all. For example, one of the very first choices I made in the prologue was to either run after the twin sister or wake the brother. But he didn't wake up, so I just ran for the door anyway. This didn't bode well for the apparent multi-branching story tree the game boasts.
Well, I think that was really more just part of the tutorial. Throughout this whole experience, you make choices that you know have significant effect because this butterfly icon pops up, letting you know that you've made a choice that will affect the overall story.
Yeah, that butterfly motif is very laboured throughout the game.
Cool.
But it is essentially the concept of the butterfly effect in play, where tiny decisions can have huge impact.
We gotta go!
I am!
I just felt it was either inconsistent or overly obvious.
Well, I disagree. I mean, I think you could get multiple playthroughs out of this game because there are just so many changes as to how it could go. And it's really hard to orchestrate the way you want it to go because so many of the decisions are reflex-based.
Hey!
I have to say, I love the way they used QuickTime events in this game.
Yeah, they're cleverly used, especially those moments that involve knee-jerk reactions. But using them for scaling walls and climbing and that sort of thing, I just think that's tedious and I could have done without it.
I do love that all the QuickTime events are tied in with a sound cue, though. That's super helpful, and it also comes out of the speaker on the PS4 controller.
I loved those moments where you have to hold the controller really still and not move.
Oh God, please don't come this way.
It's such a smart way to tie a game action in with a real horror movie moment.
Plus, all the motion capture and the animation is just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the way they've used the lighting in particular is beautiful. The game is very dark, of course, very spooky, but the way each scene is lit brings everything to life.
We're like in a movie right now?
If we are, I hope it's a rom-com.
And I think for games like this where there's so much dialogue and character interaction, taking the time to really capture all those subtle nuances of the actors' performances and all their various facial reactions is really important.
Josh, no hot water's kind of major oversight, don't you think?
And I found myself being quite drawn in by it all.
Yeah, me too. Although they're a little awkwardly placed within the environments, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, the environments are very large. You're moving characters around some pretty big spaces, so it does at times feel like there's a disconnect between character and setting.
I was reminded again of Beyond Two Souls, which also had awkward controls.
I think because these games are so cinematic, the camera angles are fixed and you'll often find yourself moving towards the camera into spaces that you can't actually see. But you get used to that.
But with the camera changing perspectives on me when I was in the forest or in the tunnels, I found I'd get confused and a bit lost.
I think I can handle a little old set of stairs.
Yeah, you do kind of get turned around a little bit.
It's a bit like those old Resident Evil games, isn't it? Mostly though, it's the lack of control that just made me feel trapped. I do get that it's kind of a necessity to this genre, because all these shots need to transition into pre-rendered animations as you pick things up and interact. But it's such a passive way to play a game.
Yeah, but I think the controls are so cleverly designed to just seamlessly transition those movements that I didn't find it frustrating.
I did.
Okay, fine. All right, well, without spoiling anything, let's talk a little bit more about the story, because I think that's where this game is potentially going to lose a lot of people.
Oh my God! There! Look there, Chris! You can't tell me you didn't see that! See?
It's pretty bad.
I mean, it's true to the genre.
The writing is just so average. And the characters are all terribly one-dimensional. I know they're classic stereotypes you would see in those movies.
Free country. Watch yourself, Mike.
But that's why all those movies are bad. The game clumsily sets up characters that you meant to like and dislike very quickly. The sleazy jock.
What's up, party people?
The nice nerdy guy.
It's kind of weird being back up here.
The bitchy girl.
At least I can think. 4.0 bitch, on a roll. Suck on that when you're trying to sleep your way into a job.
Who needs grades when you've got all the natural advantages you can handle?
Well, the thing I found odd was making decisions for all of them, because I typically want everyone to be nice to each other and get along. So as soon as I had control of the jock, he suddenly became Mr. Sensitive, and I really liked him.
Am I doing something wrong?
No. I mean, I thought you were one way, but you're kinda another way. If that makes sense, it's not your fault.
Jess? I really like you.
So it was like all the characters started acting like the same person because they were me.
Oh, once a jerk, always a jerk, Hex.
Yeah, but he looks like Nathan Drake.
Jess! Jess!
How was that relevant?
Well, it's not really, but regardless, you find yourself having to make choices very quickly and take sides with people. And unbeknownst to you, you're setting each and every one of those characters on a path that will eventually decide who lives and who dies.
I feel like the choices that matter are really only the ones you make at the end. It comes down to whether or not you make that QuickTime event, or go left or go right.
I don't know that that's true. I mean, I can't say for sure without replaying the whole thing from the start. But when you go back through all of your butterfly effect choices, you can see moments where you had the options of giving an item to another character. That would have meant that character would have had something to defend themselves with, things like that. I actually think the mechanic was really cool. And I was skeptical, but your choices absolutely do have significant weight.
You also find totems throughout the game that work like little warnings or premonitions of things to come. But depending on your choices, there are outcomes that may be avoided. I actually really liked this idea, Hex, but I found for the most part they were pretty redundant.
Yeah, I think just as a concept it needs a little work. No, I mean, there were some deja vu moments where I saw something that I remembered seeing before, and I did get that feeling of being caught up in some fatalistic design.
What about the choices you make in the therapist's office?
Oh. Interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, all that stuff was a bit weird, wasn't it? I mean, it is explained in the story, but I could have also been happy without it.
Well, it's interesting, because at one point it seems to be used as a device to obtain information about which characters you care about and what freaks you out personally.
Clowns and gore?
Yes, clowns. And then they start popping up in the game.
Wait.
Coincidence? Feels a bit like cheating, doesn't it? Asking you what you're scared of in order to scare you with it.
I actually think it's really clever. I mean, I was genuinely terrified. It plays on a deeper level of fear. Plus, the jump scares are good.
This is bad. We've got to get her out of here.
Can I just say, though, that therapist guy kind of reminded me of the guy from that old board game from the 90s, Nightmare.
So, you want to play the game?
Oh, I loved Nightmare.
Yes, didn't he remind you of that, popping up occasionally, being all like, so you want to play my game?
So, you have committed to commence with this game.
It's pretty funny and so over the top. In spite of the hilariously shallow characters and insanely ridiculous story, I was enjoying this at the beginning.
Sick.
The game is about 10 hours, with there being 10 hours until dawn, so it's a pretty decent length, but as it was drawing to the end, Hex, I was kind of ready for everyone just to hurry up and die already. I just wanted it to be over.
Well, this almost lost me in the middle because I'm just a massive wuss and can't handle torture porn. Clowns and gore, but I was actually really invested in my decisions, and my desire to save as many people as possible was unwavering, Bajo.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, not great. No!
You gotta go, okay?
But I cared enough to want to go back and replay bits to try again. I'm actually really excited by this genre, Bajo. And as ridiculous as the story was, I just gave myself over to the schlockiness of it.
So you really liked this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I may cop some hate for this, but I did like it. Similar to Beyond Two Souls, I wouldn't want to play something this passive all the time, but I'm just interested how this narrative cinematic genre is kind of becoming a thing now.
I don't know, I got a lot more out of Beyond Two Souls than I did from this. This is a teen scream slasher porn with a bad script.
You jerks! Hannah!
I agree that there are some well-done mechanics, and I love how cinematic this game is, but mostly I was frustrated by this experience, so I have to give it 2 stars.
Oh, harsh. Okay, I'm giving it 3.5 stars. No! That sucks.
Gotta fire up the generator so you can see where you're going. It's dark out there.
All right. Roger that.
I think Josh was flirting with me.
Okay. You want to invite him up with us?
Wait, really?
What? No.
Busy night?
We still haven't cracked that case.
Of course you haven't.
What do you mean, of course?
I just mean the guy you're trying to catch, he's obviously really smart.
Well, Bajo and I are going to the arcade later. Do you want a lift?
Oh, no thanks. I've got my own, own lift. Got a lift there. Thank you, though.
You look tired this morning.
Oh, I've just been up all night fixing that arcade I stole from you guys. Damn it.
Oh, Mjolnir. Looks like you named your last.
Oh, it's making its way downtown. Oh, it's making its way everywhere. It was the original Kingdom Hearts from 2002. Released on the PlayStation 2, the game blends the worlds of Final Fantasy and the Disney universe, with you following the story of Sora. The game spawned many sequels, with more on the way. And it's unnamed the game because it features the voice work of Hayden Panettiere, who featured in this week's Until Dawn.
Next week on the show, we ride Eternal, Shiny, and Chrome in Mad Max. Oh, what a lovely day.
There's only those who live, those who die, and those who stand in my way.
If you live in Sydney and you'd like to see a totally awesome live gaming show this Saturday, then we have 2 options for you.
Yes, we have Spawn Point Live, which is our all-ages show, and we have Good Game Live. Both shows are on this Saturday at the Enmore Theatre.
There's still some tickets left, and we would love to see you there. Until next time, Bajo out.
Hex out. No! You're stupid, you're a stupid face, and I hate you so much.